I never imagined that the path to ambition would lead me down this dark road. For 10 years, James and I had built a beautiful life together. We had our ups and downs, like any marriage, but we always made it through, stronger than before. We had 2 kids, Max, who was 7, and Ella, our 5-year-old girl. I loved my family more than anything, and I always thought that the life we had was enough. But somewhere along the way, I lost sight of what truly mattered. My career at the marketing firm had always been steady. I was proud of my work and knew I was good at it. But when the opportunity for a promotion came up, it felt like everything I had worked for was about to be within reach. For months, I watched as the position was dangled in front of me. But no matter how hard I worked, it was always just out of my grasp. The competition was fierce, and I began to feel the pressure of having to prove myself. That's when Derek, my boss, took notice of me. He had always been professional, at least. That's what I thought. I had been working late nights on projects, always staying late to get ahead. And Derek would often stay too, watching from his office. Then one evening, after a long week of pushing myself, he called me into his office. He told me that my work was impressive, but there was something more he wanted from me, a personal connection. He promised me the promotion, but there was a catch. He said that he needed something in return. At first, I didn't understand what he meant, but then he made it clear. He wanted me to sleep with him. The words hit me like a punch to the gut, but at that moment my mind was clouded with ambition. I was tired of waiting, tired of being passed over. The thought of getting ahead, of securing my future for my family, seemed worth it. So I agreed. What I didn't know was that Derek had been plotting this for much longer than I realized. He recorded everything that happened between us, capturing every detail of the affair. It was never about the promotion. Not for him. It was about control. He wasn't just manipulating my career. He was planning to control me, to make me his puppet. Once it was over, I thought I could walk away. I had what I wanted. The promotion was mine. I was finally at the top of my department, and everything seemed perfect again. But Derek's grip on me wasn't over. He started making demands, small things at first, like late-night meetings and private conversations. Then, his requests grew more personal. He wanted me to continue seeing him. He would say that if I didn't, he'd release the video of us together, threatening to ruin my marriage, destroy my career, and tear my family apart. At first, I was paralyzed with fear. I couldn't lose James. I couldn't lose my children. But what choice did I have? I gave in, time and time again, trying to keep the secret buried. But each time I did, I lost a little more of myself. I wasn't the woman I used to be, and the guilt weighed on me constantly. I hated myself for what I was doing, but I couldn't stop. I was trapped in a cycle of shame and fear, unable to escape. The turning point came when Derek made an outrageous request. He told me that if I didn't meet him for another night at his apartment, he would send the video to James. He said it would ruin everything. I was desperate. My heart pounded as I thought about the wreckage I'd leave behind. James would never forgive me. My kids would be devastated. I would lose everything. That night, as I prepared to go to Derek's apartment, something inside me snapped. I couldn't do it anymore. I had to come clean to James. I couldn't live in this cage of lies and manipulation. The guilt of what I had done to him, to our family, was eating away at me. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. I walked into the living room, where James was playing with the kids. Max was laughing as he ran around, and Ella was showing him a new drawing. I felt like an outsider in my own home. James looked up and smiled, but all I could see was the man I was about to destroy. I knew I had to tell him the truth, no matter how much it hurt. "James, I need to talk to you," I said, my voice trembling. He frowned, sensing the seriousness of my tone. What's going on, Lily? You look like you've seen a ghost. Tears welled up in my eyes. I've done something terrible, and I can't hide it from you anymore. I've made a huge mistake. He stood up immediately, walking over to me with concern etched across his face. What is it? What's going on? And then I told him everything. I told him about Derek, about the affair, about the blackmail. I could barely get the words out. But once I started, they came pouring out of me. The look in James's eyes was something I'll never forget. There was pain there, disbelief, but also something else, understanding. He didn't raise his voice, didn't lash out. He just stood there, listening, absorbing the weight of what I had done. When I finished, he didn't speak immediately. He just wrapped his arms around me, holding me close. I don't know if I can ever trust you again, Lily, he said, his voice cracking. But we're going to figure this out, together. Over the next few weeks, we went to therapy. It wasn't easy. There were days when I felt like I was suffocating in guilt. Days when I didn't know if our marriage would survive. But James was committed to working through it. Slowly, we began to rebuild the trust we had lost, piece by piece. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. We were healing, together. Then, just when I thought things were getting better, Derek sent the video. The moment I saw the notification, my stomach dropped. I thought it was over. I thought James would leave me, that my career was ruined, that my kids would suffer the consequences of my actions. But what I didn't know was that James had been preparing for this moment. He had already spoken to a lawyer. He had already filed a case of assault and harassment against Derek. He had anticipated Derek's move and was ready to fight back. The legal battle was intense. Derek tried to defend himself, claiming that it was all consensual and that I was simply being vindictive. But the evidence was clear. Derek lost his job. His career was destroyed, and I had the promotion I had fought so hard for. In the end, it felt like justice had been served. But despite the victory, I knew the journey wasn't over. James and I are still rebuilding our marriage, still working on restoring the trust that was shattered. But we are doing it, step by step. I've learned that no amount of ambition, no promotion, is worth the price I almost paid. In the end, it's love, trust, and family that matter most.